Welcome to a short screencast. Today, the third in a row of how to run Camunda on Pivotal Cloud Foundry. And today, I want to actually focus on running Camunda Optimize on PCF. So we already have a Camunda installation, either with a Spring Boot or I'm probably with Node.js and then running Camunda as a service, as a separate deployment on PCF. So that's what we already did. There are two videos available, either for Spring Boot or for this one. And now what we want to do is basically we want to use Optimize, which connects to Camunda via REST API and then stores data in its own Elastic in order to make use of that for analysis and these kind of things. If you want to know more about Optimize, you can find it on the Camunda homepage. It's not an open source tool, so that's an enterprise add-on. But there's also a test version available if you want to go for that. Right. So let's get going. In order to do that, what we actually need to do, and I switched to my checked out version. So that's the folder we also have in GitHub. What we basically leverage as Optimize, it's a Java application. So it basically needs an Uber jar, one jar to run, and that means it can run on PCF on the Java build pack, like we already did with Camunda itself. Optimize in its current state, it's not a Spring Boot application, and that means it's a bit more complicated to configure it. We're currently discussing internally if we probably should change that, but it's not that hard to configure actually. So what we basically have here, it's a small Maven project. So if you don't know what Java is, basically you can skip the next minute, but I want to give you a quick overview of what we're doing here. So basically that's a so-called overlay project. So what we do is we depend on, where is it? I already was there. This is the only dependency we have on the Optimize backend. So that's the big Optimize jar, basically. And then we do an overlay with the so-called Maven Shade plugin. So you don't have to care about that too much. But what it does, it creates one big Uber jar and says, okay, this is the main class which should be run, right? And that's it. The only thing we do additionally is we basically define a configuration file which will be included. And the trick is in this configuration file we have placeholders, and these placeholders can be replaced by environment properties. And these environment properties we can leverage in order to configure it on PCF. So that's basically what we have here, right? We can build that project. So if I'm there, I can just run it as Maven install. And that will do a Java build and package everything together in like one file, right? If you don't have a local Java environment ready, what you could do, you could run that on your CI/CD pipeline. And I explained that when I did the how to run a Node.js with Camunda on PCF. So you might want to look back to that, right? So it basically created a jar file. We can look at that. If we go to the target folder, we will see that. And you will see that this is a bit bigger. So it really contains like everything we need in order to run it, right? So the next thing we can do is we can directly push it to PCF, because that's what we want to do actually. In order to do that, I created a manifest file. So first of all, I referenced the jar file. You could do that with a command line parameter as well if you prefer that. And the next thing I do, I define all the environment properties here. So I basically pointed to my Camunda installation. So what I use today is, if I go back to my, oh no, I was already right, to my applications, I already have the PCF engine as a service. So that was the one I deployed when I did the Node.js example. So it's there. It has an endpoint, so that's the endpoint where it can reach Camunda. And this is the endpoint I add here. The REST API is not secured there, which is probably not a best practice for production usage. If you secure it, you can provide credentials here. You provide the API to the Camunda web app in order to allow to link back to it. And then we need an Elastic installation in order to store all the data. And in this case, what I use, you probably can see that here, I use the hosted Elastic from the Elastic cloud, right? So you can just create a test account there if you like, fire up an Elastic instance, and then we can connect to that here. You can run Elastic yourself if you like. The only thing which didn't work for me so far in the Pivotal service marketplace, there is only one thing for Elastic, which is the search, the Elasticsearch, and we had a couple of issues with that, which might be probably sorted out in the near future, but for the moment you cannot just use that. So I used the real Elastic from Elastic Cloud, right? Okay, so that's there. I provided all the environment properties, and what I can do next, I can simply push it. So I'm going back to this. So I say Cloud Foundry push. What it does, it basically uploads the jar file. It sets all the environment properties. It will figure out, hey, that's a Java application, so it will leverage the Java build pack from Cloud Foundry and start it up, right? So that's what it's currently doing. That might take a bit, especially if you do it the first time. We probably wait for that to happen. I go back, I already see the application here, already get an endpoint. But now we have to wait for it to really come up. Okay, as soon as it uploaded the file, discovered the build pack for the Java build pack, and got everything up, the application starts, so we can see that on the web console if you like, or there are other ways of doing that. And what we can see is that it basically started up. So that's pretty much it. So what we can do is, there's the root, so we can access Optimize here. It's probably not yet there, so we have to wait probably a couple of seconds in order to get there. There we are. Now we have to provide a license. That's what I said. It's not an enterprise. It's not an open source version, so I have to provide the license. Okay, I provided a license, and then I can basically log in. The users are retrieved from the engine in this case, so it's demo. I see an empty Optimize installation, so we're there. So that's basically it for today. I will create a quick dashboard and a couple of reports just to show you what Optimize can do here, but with our very small process. That's kind of boring anyway. But if you're interested, just stay tuned. But for running it on PCF, that's basically all you have to do. So let's use it and create a small report. And I only have my awesome sysout process, which is really good for analysis. But just that you get an idea what you can do here. So I could say, hey, I want to see the count of process instances I have, probably by some group by some dates or something like that. So let's do it like that. And then as a table probably, because it's one, I mean, a chart doesn't make a lot of sense, right? So there was one already quite a while back. So I can say that. So that's my count report. No, count report. I want to create a second report actually. So let's do a new report where it just say again, I want to go for the sysout. Now I want to have either the count or the duration of instances. And to group that. Sorry, I want to group it by. No, I want a flow node duration. Sorry, I don't want to group that. And I use a heat map. And now the hotter, the longer it takes. Obviously, the sysout takes longer than the others. You could also do like the count, which should be the same for everything. But these are kind of heat maps, and you can do a lot of filtering and stuff here. So these reports you can easily generate here. You could access different engines if you like, and then you can create a dashboard if you like. So on the dashboard, you can just add all the reports we already have. So we can say the heat map and the count makes sense to have. So we have our easy dashboard, which is then available directly here, and we can use. We can share it, so it could even be like a link. Which don't need any kind of like login and these kind of things. You could dive deeper, analyze stuff, and whatever. So I don't want to go into deep into any depth of Optimize. That's a different story. But the cool thing, it's running on PCF. It's there. So that's it for today. If you want to run it yourself, all the stuff is here. Please note that this is not an open source component, so you need a login, you need a try license at least. You can get that from the camunda.com homepage. Give me feedback. Thanks for listening.